Hey guys, this is my interview with Damon Gameau, the director of 2040, and this is part 2 of the interview. So welcome to Mondays with Michaela. I hope you enjoy.
So where do you see humanity in 2060?
2060. Oh, wow. Oh, that is, oh, wow. Look, all I can speculate with a glass half full is that we're existing in a much more circular and shared economy. We have really strong communities. We have really functioning democracy. It's a more participatory democracy. There's giant floating kelp forests out in the ocean that we can go and scuba dive in, and we're getting all our fish, that we've pulled lots of carbon out of the atmosphere. We're getting around on bikes and public transport and maybe some driverless cars, and that we're, not wasting anything. There's no such thing as plastic anymore. We reuse everything. We've used biodegradable materials, proper biodegradable materials, and we're just kinder to each other, and we have more females in position of power who are making really good decisions.
Awesome. That sounds like a fantastic world. I'd love to be living there.
Your movie, 2060. Yep.
Yeah. Sequel to 2040. So how does concern for the environment win against human negativity and apathy?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one to overcome, isn't it? So, well, I think I'm biased, but I think storytelling's got a huge part to play there, because if you think about the way we get our news, that's a story we're being told. The media controls the story, and that story is kind of an old paradigm. It's a 20th century model, and it is based on fossil fuels and about hierarchies and really controlled information. And I think we're shifting now. And so the way we can bring people out of that fear space, which is what that narrative does to keep us controlled, is to show positive stories and exciting stories and say, hey, you know what? The future can be really great, and we can have amazingly strong communities and beautiful jobs with meaning and purpose, and we can give our kids cleaner air and a much better future. Let's start telling those stories and showing the examples and showing the images and get people to go, oh yeah, that looks great. That's worth getting out of bed for. I want to dedicate that for the rest of my life, instead of just telling them how bad things are and be scared of this particular race and don't do this and they're going to take your jobs away. That whole narrative, that story is just done. And so we've got to have an intervention and cut through with more positive and more inspirational stories.
Yeah, I think you're right. Positivity really brings people together rather than the negative.
Yeah, as long as it's grounded in reality. Like, we don't want to start going, hey, it's all going to be great, and it's all like off with the fairies and rainbow unicorns. It's got to be a muscular hope, a grounded, anchored kind of possibility.
Absolutely. So what did you aspire to be at the age of 16?
Oof. I don't reckon I was aspiring to be much. I was sort of spending a lot of time. I mean, you know what 16-year-old boys are like. We're pretty hopeless. Just sort of playing sports, skateboarding. I think I might have wanted to be a pro skateboarder then, but I was terrible. I just learnt to ollie and like tic-tac, and I thought I was so cool. But I wanted to be a journalist, I think, at one time. I think I thought that's what I wanted to do, and some kind of AFL sports star, but I kind of secretly knew that wasn't going to happen either.
There's some pretty big ambitions.
Yeah,
I know I still have those big ambitions, who knows, right? So I am 16 and I'm skeptical about the majority of people in this world being able to change their lives so the environment can improve for the benefit of my future. What would you say to me?
Well, I'd say that skepticism is good and it's healthy, and that you're right to question aspects of our system, because I do think unless we have a fundamental change at the foundations, it's going to be tougher to get there. We've sort of got a system that doesn't bring out the best in us, and it doesn't reward us for caring for the environment. In fact, it rewards us for doing the opposite and treading all over people, showing no empathy, and destroying resources. That's how we make money or get success. So unless we change that model, we are going to be in trouble. But I would say to you that from my experience in the last 5 years, there are millions and millions of people around the world that feel the same way, and they are searching for new models of democracy, of economics, of agriculture, of transport, all these things. People are being pushed right now to do things differently. And like I said before, I think it's an incredibly exciting time. I think what you're going to see in your lifetime is going to be a remarkable transition. And whether we get there by 2040 or maybe it's 2060, but that change will happen in your lifetime. I mean, the renewable energy one's already underway. The electric cars and transport, that's already underway. They're done. But once people really cotton on to circular economy and what that means and what regen ag means and what we could do with our oceans, I mean, it's going to be great. So I do feel that you should be buoyed by that. There's a lot of work to do. There's a few things to get out of the way. But I would say keep that flame alive of the possibility and that hope, because those things already exist. We're not waiting to invent something. In fact, we might invent something even better as we move forward, but we've actually got all the tools we need right now.
No, I totally agree with you. So who inspires you? Who keeps you moving other than immediate family?
Look, I would have to say, I've met some pretty extraordinary people in the last few years, but, there's some in your generation in particular. I just feel, how articulate, how clever, how passionate some of the 16 and 17-year-olds are. Some of them girls as well, majority of them girls. I feel so emotional sometimes when I think of the future being in their hands, and when they get to be leaders and the world they're going to force and create for my children. I feel really inspired by that. And it's not easy to do. You're up against a very established system and a paradigm and a way of thought that doesn't want to entertain what your generation is saying, but you are persisting and sticking to it. And it's wonderful stuff.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. Some 16-year-olds inspire me. Greta Thunberg, for one, is a huge inspiration for myself. Yeah. So what do you think a good environmental leader looks like?
I think one that just understands the role of the environment, that embeds it in the system. At the moment, we just measure everything by economics. It's something called a GDP, which is just how we measure our success. But I think a good environmental leader understands that the living world, that our natural world, is part of that environment and that economy as well, so that all of it gets factored. It isn't just about doing something to make money. It's actually considering the biodiversity or the forests or the life of that system is valued as well. So, but I think they also, a good leader does it without being inclusive, but actually humanizing. So it doesn't take sides too much and come across as too antagonistic and aggressive, that there's a human element to them in the way they speak. They're still speaking truth to power and they're direct, but they also understand and meet people where they're at and can see that some people haven't reached that understanding yet, or they're still stuck in a job that's providing their security. So they talk to them a bit differently and just try and carefully get them to see a new way of being, as opposed to barging in there and telling them and chastising them.
No, yeah, absolutely. So what do you think is the best way to convince others to believe in climate change?
Well, I'd say start by saying that it's not even a belief, that it is. It's like gravity. It is, there's not even an argument as to whether you believe it or not. But also to understand that, people have their doubts for a range of reasons. Some people don't believe in science much. Some people don't believe in authority. So if the government tells them, it's the opposite. So there's lots of factors. I think the best thing to do is just to listen, to give them the space and just carefully say, okay, well, have you thought about this? Or just gently talk to them about it. And then just talk about the broader issue of, this isn't just about climate change. This is about our soils and about our oceans and about our habitats for animals. These things are all linked, and climate change is just one symptom of that. But sometimes you can get in by saying, look, do you want healthier future or healthier food? Or would you want cleaner air for your kids? Because right now there's about 7 million people around the world that die every year from air pollution. So shouldn't we try and clean up the air? Well, if we do that, we're also fixing climate change at the same time. So there's just more strategic ways to get in there, that you're not just saying climate change when people get triggered and go, oh, hang on. Like, we've got to be a bit smarter with the way that we have those conversations.
Yeah, climate change in itself, it's really sad that it's happened, but the buzzword, it's a word that really turns people away. So yeah, I agree.
It does. Yep.
So I'm going to list some famous people. Say the first word that comes to mind. One word only.
Okay, I might not know them. Don't you forget, I'm in my 40s, you're 16, so I might not know them, okay?
Okay, Albert Einstein.
Genius.
Jane Goodall.
Oh, Grace.
Costa Georgidis.
Life.
Donald Trump.
Ooh, orange.
Greta Thunberg.
Passion.
Awesome. So, my last question is, what would you say to my generation who sometimes feel helpless and overwhelmed in the face of the current climate? What would be a message you want to leave them with?
To tell them that their voices are being heard and they are making a difference. And even though it might not be from our Prime Minister or the top levels, the state level, the business community, so many other sectors are hearing your voices, and to keep going, that through history, change has never been linear, which means that there's no, if you do this, it'll lead to this. There's usually an unknown tipping point, and no one knows when that's going to happen. And that was things like a Rosa Parks on the bus. Suddenly all that momentum for human rights, civil rights changed, but no one could have predicted that. So I think just keep going, keep believing that you're going to get there, have that hope and that belief and that vision, and then some spectacular moment will occur when none of us expect, and this thing will flip, and then there'll be an absolute tidal wave of action and momentum. And I just keep working to that day, and I know that it's going to come and it's not that far away.
Awesome. That's some good advice. So thank you so much for meeting with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Look, I appreciate that you care so much about this topic and that you want to ask these questions. So keep up the great work, and I'm sure I'll see you around the trap somewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Good on you, Michaela. Bye.
Bye.